I'm Michael Matthews. Today I want to talk about how to embiggen your minor NPCs, how to make small roles into something a little more interesting. Now, there are no small roles is a lie that we say in theater all the time. There are small roles, but good actors don't treat small roles like a throwaway line where they can just be a bored void on stage until they say something. Good actors take it seriously as they would for a bigger role. By the way, bigger roles aren't always the best roles by any means. Sometimes they are, but there are a lot of shows where the most fun role is a smaller part that the audience, when they're leaving, will be talking about much more than the person who just pushes the plot along. So, in role-playing games, it's very easy to make an NPC either like important with lots of game time so that the players know this is someone who will matter, or completely skim over them. It's super easy for us to make an NPC the equivalent of a JRPG NPC that has just a single line of dialogue every time you talk to them, and then like a menu you can buy stuff from. And, to be fair, some NPCs should be this way. We can't make everyone gigantic. I mean, people got homes to go to after the game. But minor NPCs, who are a bit more fun, make the game world feel more alive and also give you an opportunity to discover people who could later on become rather important. If you've ever watched 80s action films, we're often very good at this. There's a moment in Highlander when one of the cops is complaining about something, and there's a guy reading a newspaper at a stand about the headhunter killer, and he's laughing and teasing the cops. What does incompetent mean? What does baffled mean? And while he's asking this, the cop is complaining about stuff going on, and it's a memorable scene. Not because the exposition that we're getting, that the mayor is really cracking down, that people are scared in the city. It's memorable partly because we've got this interesting interaction. Outside of the main story points, it's the first thing I think of when I think of Highlander. Now, Shane Black, who's like Lethal Weapon was his first screenplay, was really, really good at this. Apparently in the 80s, his screenplays were just passed around for people to read because they're hilarious. Go watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or The Nice Guys, or most of his work. And that's not just role-playing advice. It's like, seriously, go out and watch it. He's really good at what he does. In Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, they end up robbing the same person twice, a guy named Woodcock. And the second time, it turns out it's him. Like, Butch Cassidy's delighted. He's like, Woodcock? And you just hear from inside, Butch? It's an NPC that was interesting and kind of fun, and we run into them again, and it was just this really fun moment. And as an audience member, I was also delighted to see this guy again. We don't have an opportunity to do that enough in role-playing games because we don't pay enough attention to NPCs that don't matter often. So, next time your characters are, like your players are at like an upscale gathering, or they're buying something, or when there's a little bit of a quiet time to interact with someone, ask yourself the following about the person that they're talking to. Does this person look up or down on the PCs? Now, the important thing is, conflict is not always better or more interesting. Doing improv is a quick way to find out that you can get absolutely mired in conflict, and that's often our first place to go. Oh, well, if I don't want you to have this, we have a scene. Sometimes you just have a roadblock. Cooperation can be fantastic. So, is this person like a minor official who wants to get the players on their side? Are these the players warriors who might actually understand the quality of the weapons this person is selling? Do they think the PCs are as above everyone else at this gathering as the person does? Or the reverse of any of these? This gives you a good place to start. A drunk official who's finally glad to gossip with someone that they haven't wanted to throw a chair at can be a great source of fun and information. So can an innkeeper who looks at the PCs and thinks, oh god, here comes trouble, because PCs are always trouble. They can be a fun one-off or reoccurring NPC. They might love the fact that they deal with this grumpy person who doesn't want them around. So, also keep in mind how long you want this to go. In improv, we often have a saying, like, if you're the third person in a two-person scene, your job is to get out as quickly as possible. Occasionally, you become an important part of it, but it's also very easy for improvisers to kind of keep coming up on stage and sticking around and basically stopping anything from happening because they've decided they want this funny thing to go on. You're in there to do a job, you want an interesting character, but you should be getting out relatively quickly. If you've got some time, I mean, if it's a good lull between higher parts of the tension, you can let it breathe a little bit. You can let the players relax and have some fun. give this character a strong point of view and make them unafraid to say it. A ton of subtlety is just not going to come across unless you want to take a lot of time. Start them off letting the characters know what they need to know about this person. Just make up a strong point of view, a strong way of feeling about the characters, one way or the other, and then figure it out. Like, are they going to be pushy and not take the take the PC shit? Are they going to be passive aggressive? Are they scared of the PCs? Are they delighted with them? Are they fans? Have they been waiting to meet someone who's done these interesting things? Is everyone else at this party super boring? And these are people who've gone out on adventures and done all these cool things. Why wouldn't they want to talk to them a little bit? And let the players brag about themselves some. Any of these can make a minor character something that is more interesting and feels real. The NPCs the players like and go back to, start incorporating them more. Let that guard who feels bad for letting the PCs not go through to see the king, he's a sympathetic ear who maybe becomes captain of the guard at some point. It's like, listen, I understand where you're coming from, but my job doesn't let you through. I'm sorry. Like, later on, they run into him. Maybe he's able to help. Maybe it's a mercenary that meets somewhere else because he quit, because he was tired of it. Maybe that thief that helped out makes a play for the head of the Thieves Guild later on. They want to hire the players. The more you try this out, the more comfortable you'll become with it. This also means the players are willing to invest more in NPCs and not feel like they have to push a plot train along or expect every NPC to be something important. When I was at Gen Con, I was running Unknown Armies, and I asked offhandedly who the character with an interest in magic kept seeing in the stacks of this library that had the actual magical material. And I said, man, it's an adjunct professor. And I just offhandedly. Now, I knew whoever they said was going to become the antagonist. We had mentioned it. We brought it up. It's someone that's like, oh yeah, this is someone my character knows. That does a lot of work for you as far as making a character feel important when they show up later. At one point, they made a roll to see about finding some information in the library, and I happened to have that character, that professor, be there and talk to the player a little bit, and it was a good way to get the information without just sort of telling them in a boring way, but it also set up the character to see later. It became an easy way to give some information, to give the character a little bit of time to talk to somebody else out of character. It kind of felt like, oh, we've got this little reprieve, let's have some kind of non-essential RP, which does help the game quite a bit. It makes things feel more interesting. It lets them play with their character a little bit more. But the thing is, like, the vast amount of the time I do this, it's not setting up someone important. It's just a minor NPC that may or may not become important depending on if the PCs like them. And sometimes important is not they become a huge major figure in the game. It's just the person that they come back to. It's someone that they see a bunch. Fiction has this thing we call economy of characters, and it's easy not to use it in RPG, and it's super helpful. Basically, instead of constantly introducing new characters throughout the tale, we come back to someone we've already met because we've had a chance to build an emotional attachment to them. One of the big reasons certain characters have been left out of Game of Thrones, the TV show, is in the books, he's got time to give us a whole lot more characters and also to keep them separate for his own world-building purposes. But on the TV show, all of those would be new actors. You're like, okay, who is this guy? I haven't seen them before. But someone you know coming in and dealing with major characters gives us an opportunity to have information given to us by a character we may care about or at least know who they are. It's not just another faceless actor. Do we have an island and 10 people are on there and murders are happening? If we don't meet, like, the creepy, could possibly be the murderers early on, we know it has to be one of those 10. If there's no other characters, if at the end of the story we suddenly have, like, oh, yep, here's this killer out of nowhere we've never seen, it feels kind of random and crappy. It doesn't have the punch that a character who we've gotten to know has. So, economy of characters in your RPG is often less about plot specifics, because if you at least run a game like I do, the plot itself is not in any way set in stone. I often have to tell my players, listen, this is not a plot thing, this is not moving things along. If they're not used to it, it's like, this is just an NPC. If you like him, they may become more important. If you don't like them, or if your character is, butt heads in an interesting way, maybe they will or won't. But letting them know it's okay to take that time and relax a little bit. So, getting that emotional connection, having it so that the players are able to role play outside of big important scenes and make the world feel a little more real and let them figure out who their characters are when it's not in tense situations, which is what we are tending to push towards when it comes to role-playing games, helps not only you role-play new and different types of characters, also helps the world feel more real, more lived in, more interesting, and you're never going to be sure who exactly they're going to take a shining to. So overall, practice this a little bit. If you feel nervous about it, think ahead of time. They're going to need to buy equipment, or they're going to need to get into a place. Like there's a guard at the place they're trying to sneak into who is bored as hell and is kind of pissed because they haven't had a chance to exert authority that they thought, as the person in charge of this place, they were going to be able to do more. But nope, night shift. You know what happens on the night shift? Nothing. So maybe they are throwing their weight around a little bit, or maybe they just want someone to talk to because, oh my god, they haven't talked to anybody and they're just on the players' butts the whole time because, hey, here's someone to sort of chat and hang out with because for months I've been working practically by myself at night and it sucks. Take those characters, plan it ahead of time. The more you do this, the more you make them important, the easier it'll be for you, and the more your players will be able to kind of sink into those moments and not worry about it having to be something hidden in the background. So, hope you like it. If you've got any questions, go ahead and put it down in the comments. Also, if you like it, hit subscribe or share. You can go to the 8-minute story challenge if you want me to put together a quick adventure or campaign starter for you based on a song and genre of RPG that you put forth. So until later, thank you very much and have yourself a great day.